What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Clash and Conferences podcast. This is the members group where any members can join on a week-to-week basis. We got a light crew here tonight. Joining me, Kyle, representing, Louisville. Wait a minute. Oh, Louisville sucks. All right, it was too low on the screen. I started to say it and then saw your shirt and I was like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? Representing
Kentucky forever, brother. Yes, sir.
Blue Kentucky. Cody couldn't be here tonight, so I'm glad Kyle could be here. We're going to get
Got you,
into
brother. I got you.
a little bit of NCAA March Madness to see what state of Kentucky report is given by Kyle this evening. And also we're going to get a little NFL free agency. So Kyle's going to rep a little bit of Eagles tonight as well, I think. We also got Paddy. Paddy representing the Steelers in a little free agency talk, hopefully. Still looking for a quarterback, I believe.
As of this hour, we are, but I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
all
get to
right.
that.
It's got to be getting close. Who I can't remember, Patty. Are you a Notre Dame basketball fan? Do you have a basketball team?
By technicality, yeah. But I'm, whoever is a supporter of my capital gains in whatever language you want to take that. But that's who I support in college basketball. Big Notre Dame win over
Stood.
Pitt today, though, in the ACC tournament.
Okay,
Notre
all
Dame
right.
snuck out one today.
They ACC snuck in there as the first kind of big conference to open a tourney, I think.
Yeah.
Noticing that today. We start to get some real games, I think, on by Thursday.
Yeah.
We
ACC Big 12 started today,
SEC
and
starts Thursday as well.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we start to get some of these other the conferences where you're starting to get some better teams and teams off the bye and whatnot.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get started, let me get some host notes out of the way here. Just want to thank Sparrow Hair Studios, as always, Lancaster, PA. If you are in the area, go see Lean, get a haircut. If you are a member of the Clash and Conferences Network, you can get a discount. If you need to know how to join the Clash and Conferences, it is at www.theclashandconferences.com. Very simple online form there. You can fill it out, get in touch with Steve, our producer and content manager, and it's as easy as that to join the members group, join a member show, get on a podcast of your own, get a group of friends here, get involved, and really good time. Get into a new sponsor here in a little bit. I'll tell you about Lockwin once I get my script pulled up. But Lockwin is a new company that we're working with where you can get these really cool 3D chains made any team, any style you want. We gave out an awesome one last night or I guess last week to who got that? Lewis got that, man. Phillies fan. Lewis got it. He is the internal champion of champions, I guess you call it. He's in the chat right now telling us he's 3 for 3 and talking a bunch of trash. But let's get out of that. Let's start off with a little bit of NFL free agency, guys. Both of your teams are heavily involved in certain things. Patty's team is out there still looking for that quarterback. Kyle, I think between you and the Niners, you lost the whole defense and could probably field a pretty good defensive 11 squad out of the guys that came out of those two teams. It's crazy. But how he hits on the draft, we've been talking about it all day in the chat. I don't know, I can't remember which chat. There's too many chats in this group. But there's been a lot of talk today about how Howie can fix everything, and Eagles fans don't seem to be too worried. Kyle, what's your take?
I'm not worried yet. Uh, we knew we were going to lose Sweat. We knew we were going to lose Williams. Even trading Gardner Johnson, that didn't really concern me based on the future years. So I think they got a bunch of young guys that it's time that are still on rookie deals. Sidney Brown's still on a rookie deal. It's time for him to earn his money. Keely Ringo's still on a rookie deal to play cornerback. So, and Howie does hit in the draft. What he's doing too, he's banking comp picks for next year based on this. He has 11 picks
Mm-hmm.
in 2026 already, which he's not going to keep all those picks. He's going to use those as collateral. And he has 4 fifth-round picks this year that he'll end up trading and probably moving up. So I don't think they're done yet. That's the thing that everybody's freaking out about. I mean, today's Tuesday. NFL free agency technically starts tomorrow, right? The legal
Yeah,
tampering
yep.
period was Monday. So this is all speculation right now with some of these guys. Like they said, Slay's going to Pittsburgh. I don't know if he's going to go to Pittsburgh or not. We'll see. There's been rumors out there that's saying that it's not a done deal yet and all that. I think he's going. He already said that he wanted to play for Tomlin. But irregardless, I think the Birds, man, I got faith in Howie to do the right thing. I didn't think he was going to overpay for a lot of these guys because he has a bunch of young guys that can fill in those gaps. So I'm anxious to see what he does in the draft. And I don't think he's done from a free agent standpoint, but I don't think they're going to make a big splash. I can see them getting a lot of these 1 year guys like what they got last year with Zach Bond on prove it deals because that seems to be their MO lately. It's kind of like getting guys in the transfer portal in NCAA. You know,
Yeah,
you don't have to get the one and done guys. You get the transfer portal guys that are trying to make the pros, and
the
that's how it works.
Patino method.
Yep, exactly. So I'm looking forward to it though, but I'm not panicked yet. And here we are a month away. You know, a month ago we just won the Super Bowl, so I'm still living high.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, you get a little bit of leeway when after
Yeah,
you win the Super Bowl on what
exactly.
happens a month or two after that, at least.
Yep,
I
yep.
saw a list today of Howie's last 5 drafts, and it was just talking about the first 2 rounds. But I mean, out of 10 guys, like 8 or 9 of those guys are like big pieces right now. Like that's
Hmm.
a amazing hit rate. Like that does not happen. I can't think of another team that hits that much on top 2 picks the past 5 years. That's
I mean,
it's
the
a heck
last
of a
three
way to
years are
do it.
what? The last 3 years are Quinyon Mitchell with Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devonta Smith,
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith. Like that's just that alone, without even thinking the others off the top of my head, is
Well, you got Landon
crazy.
Dickerson, Cam Jurgens. You got like half the offensive line thrown in there
Cam
too,
Jurgens
right?
was in
So
there. Yeah, yep.
that
Goddard. I mean,
helps.
it was a while ago, but Goddard was a second round pick. I want to say.
Second round pick. Yeah. It was the year after
It's
they won the
just
Super Bowl.
that's a heck of a run of that many years without really missing at all.
Yep. So, you know, they always say he's a master of the cap, but I mean, the cap really has nothing to do with evaluating talent, right? So I think in the draft, I got faith in him to do the right thing and draft to what the coaches need, right? I think they got the offensive guard from Houston in the trade with Gardner Johnson, and that was a guy that Stoutland liked coming out of the draft. So has he been great in the NFL? No. I think he was rated second to last for offensive guards last year. So he's
Neither was
not
Mekhi
good.
Becton. Neither was
Correct.
Mekhi Becton until he came to Philly.
And
So
it's low risk, high reward, right? He's on a last year of his rookie deal, right? So if has a great year, maybe extend him, but you get a good year out of him. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think that means Becton's not coming back, though, in my opinion. But we'll see. He hasn't signed
Yeah.
yet, so we'll see what the market is out there for him for a tackle that played guard last year. You know what I mean? Like that's not everybody has a Jeff Stoutland on their team.
Patty, before I let you get to the Steelers, I gotta say your general sports knowledge is amazing to me. Like you just rattled off like 8 or 9 of the Eagles like most recent top 2 picks as a non-Eagles fan. Like I mean, like where do you come up with that?
I don't know. I just feel like first of all, I think I love football. I think when people say hear that I love football, I don't think people know how much I love football. Like not just pro football, just football. Like if you are on my Twitter, if anyone follows me from this podcast on Twitter, like I host high school football Fridays every week. Like we host a discussion on my Twitter and everything like that. Like I'm obsessed with football. I'm a football junkie. So that comes with like I don't know. I feel like when you get that deep into things, you got to know these guys, not just because whatever, but like when you're on sports talk and you want to be a part of like genuine sports talk, I think that having knowledge of where people or how people's strengths are is like huge. Like I was a big proponent of Zach Bond earlier in the year. I want to say we even like touched on him in one of our rotating members podcasts, like obviously when I first kind of came around, but like I don't know. I take that as a big compliment, but I'm just like I'm a film junkie. It doesn't matter if it's NFL, college, or high school. Like my football kids at high school, they are like you're weird because we'll do film on Mondays and we'll see how much like film we watch, and it'll be like, oh, this kid watched 45 minutes. Oh, this kid watched an hour. I'll be like, Coach Bailey watched 13 and a half hours from Friday to Monday of film. Like, that's just how I just always been that meticulous and everything like that. And I don't know, that's just kind of where I've been. So I appreciate you saying that, Mike.
You're welcome. Well, tell me a little bit about your own team. What's going to happen with this quarterback situation? What's your
I am
prediction?
neither I am neither anti Rogers nor pro Rogers. If he comes to Pittsburgh, I'm fine with it. If he doesn't come, I'm fine with it. I think that if he does come to Pittsburgh, I hope it's under the guise that it's not his team, that this is Mike Tomlin's team, and Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator, and I would love to Rodgers to contribute to that. But I didn't love like the Rodgers takeover in New York. To me, that kind of like soiled some of his Green Bay legacy to me, where like he always kind of like moaned and groaned about never getting talent in Green Bay, and then they fed him all this talent in New York. Like they drafted guys, they traded for his guys, they brought in his guys in free agency, and that didn't, obviously with the Achilles injury factors into it too, but like that didn't lead to success. So I don't want GM Aaron Rodgers if he comes around. That's my only quote unquote downside for him. But if I get the quarterback Aaron Rodgers, what he looked like in the last 6 to 8 games last year, I'm fine with that. On the other side, I think people look at that DK Metcalf deal, not just the trade, but like the deal he signed, 30 million a year afterwards. An overpay in the NFL is only an overpay for 2 years because of the salary cap.
Hmm.
That's just how the NFL works. You are going to pay a guy a value, and in 2 years, that's going to look like in 2 years when Jamar Chase is about to sign. I'm not comparing DK Metcalf and Jamar Chase; they're two very different, receivers, and Chase is on a whole nother level. But like that Jamar Chase deal is going to make DK look stupid cheap. There's going to be a rookie, whether it's Neighbors or Marvin Harrison or something like that. In 3 years, it's going to get a $45 million deal because that's what the NFL does. The market goes up.
Always goes up. Yep.
And so I'm not right. People are like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. In 2 years, it's not going to look like a lot of money. And that's where I'm at on it. The only thing is, like, I worry that him and Pickens are similar receivers. Not that they can't coexist, but that they're both vertical threats. They're not great route runners. They're good route runners, but they're not perfect route runners. So I worry that they have to scheme them open in certain ways, but I'm definitely happy with the moves they've made so far. I think this allows them to go offensive line again in the draft, which is something that they need at least one more of. Zach Frazier was an all rookie, second team as a rookie. They have Siamalu, who's been very good, obviously coming from Philly, and then I would like to see Broderick take a big step this year at left tackle for them. Obviously, he had a great rookie season and a bad sophomore season, so we should get a little bit more clear of a picture on him. And then they drafted 3 offensive linemen last year: Olu Fashanu, sorry, he's on the Jets. Troy Fautanu is who they drafted, and like they didn't really get to play him until game 4. So I would love to see where their offensive line goes, and I think that's kind of what's going to dictate where this team goes in general.
Anything else you guys like or didn't like out of free agency from any teams out there?
Mike, I think that not enough teams are talking about how much the Bears are loading up at offensive line. I think that not enough team. I'm not saying that the Bears are going to be some crazy threat, but I don't think it's getting talked enough about how much Ben Johnson is loading up for Caleb in a second year
I
run.
don't think they're done yet either, Patty. I think there's a very good chance that we replace one of our tackles at the 10 pick in the draft.
I heard they love
And
Tyler Warren, is what I heard.
yeah, I've been seeing that the past 24 hours or so myself. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. We don't
I
need a
mean,
tight end. We got a
if
lot of
that,
needs. The
I
Bears
know
got a
you got
lot of
Komet,
needs,
but
and
like
one of them's not tight end.
rolling that offense out there with those 3 wideouts plus Komet is crazy work.
Listen, don't
I
rule the
would,
Eagles out for trading up to get Tyler Warren.
I
Just
mean, that
throwing
would
it
yeah.
be
out
awesome.
there.
That'd be crazy too.
They're trying to get rid of Goddard. They got Calcaterra under contract. He would be the perfect fit in that system. So don't be
He
surprised
would
if they
be the
try to.
perfect fit in that system.
Yep, and
That's a big
they're high
jump to
on him.
come up that high from 32, though.
Well, all they need to do is get in the top 10 based on mock drafts that I saw. A lot of quarterbacks and defensive players are going
Yeah,
in
that's
that
you got
that
to give
first
up a
10.
lot of capital to go from 32 to 10.
Kyle,
Yeah,
he's not a great blocker, but you know who I could see them going for at tight end is Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. Stupid freak athlete at tight end, like runs out the gym. Not the best blocker, body type wise, but they run enough RPO stuff. The Eagles do that. It's not really the end of like. I wouldn't call Goddard an elite blocker. He's an okay
He's
blocker.
gotten much better over the last
You
two or
know,
3 years, though. So I think, to your point, I think the way the Eagles coach that, they can coach blocking. They can teach that. They can't teach the pass catching and the route running from a tight end.
yeah. And Mike, the last thing I do want to bring up, we kind of talked about the Eagles doing this. If there's a GM that I trust that's not Howie, it's John Lynch. I think people are overreacting a little bit to this San Francisco roster stuff. Now, it is very scary to look at from an outside standpoint, but I don't think that Debo fit all that well in that system. Like from here on out, he's getting older. Guys like Hafanga and Charvarius Ward were homegrown talent. What do you think John Lynch is going to do with all these compensatory picks and the picks that he has? He's going to go get more homegrown talent. That's what the Niners do. We said they were done after Kaepernick. We said they were done after Alex Smith. We said they were done after they drafted Trey Lance and he didn't work out after Garoppolo. They just reload. And I'm not saying they're a playoff team next year, but I think people are severely overreacting to the amount that they're losing because it's obviously all their bigger names in Juszczyk and Debo and Dre Greenlaw. Like they're bigger names that they're losing, but the Niners have always been my whole life good at building homegrown talent.
They better be right about this quarterback. Purdy is, I mean,
I'm a Purdy supporter. I think
I don't dislike Purdy. I just don't know that he's I think he might be a product of the system, a product of how good that team was around him, and now he's going to be counted on to do a lot of it by himself, and that's a lot different.
I don't know that Brock Purdy is Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, where he can win you a game
I don't
Yeah,
by
disagree with that
himself.
take. I don't
By
disagree with that.
himself. I,
But you also pay to be the next guy up in the NFL. Now, I think that Dak Prescott's very good. The way that the Cowboys paid Dak Prescott is like Joe Burrow, is like Josh Allen, is like Lamar. Now, whether you agree on the money side of it, he can be a tier below those guys. That's where I think that Brock Purdy is. I don't think that he will ever be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but I think he's somebody that can not lose you games and win you games. Like he's not going to go out and make a stupid turnover that's going to cost you. I don't love the word game manager because I think he's much better than a game manager, but people talk about Goff like in the light of him. I think he's way better than Jared.
yeah, I don't disagree there. I think he is. And time will tell. I mean, I agree with Mike. I mean, depending on the weapons around him, he could be very, very good in that offense, but he could also be very bad if it's just him. So, but here's the thing: he has McCaffrey. As long as McCaffrey's healthy, he still has Kittle. Ayuk. I mean, he still has some weapons there. So it'll be interesting to see, to your point, what they do in the draft and how they rebuild that.
And they drafted Pearsall in the first round for a reason last year.
Yeah, that
Like
kid's
they,
a
they
stud.
obviously love him.
Yep.
So with Debo gone, you're going to see him moving. You're going to see him moving a lot more than you saw last year. I mean, that's what Shanahan does best. Like you look at Debo's best years are when they moved him to running back, when they motioned him a lot, when they just moved him all over the field. That's what makes him so dangerous. That's going to be Pearsall next year. So, it's up in the air, but I just kind of trust John Lynch from a GM standpoint to get them back to where they need to be.
One thing
Contender, I don't know.
One thing that got overshadowed, and probably a lot of people aren't even realizing, but the Patriots have made huge splashes. I mean, they had a lot of money under the cap to spend, and man, did they spend it.
Absolutely.
I mean, they went after like 4 or 5 guys on the first 2 days that they could. I mean,
Not that it's ideal, but them not landing a wide receiver is pretty much a sure tail sign that they're going after Ted McMillan in the draft. And I'm telling you right now, he is a stud if they get him.
mhm.
He is a stud. So, I mean, they believe in what they're doing. Vrabel believes in what they're doing. I think that uh, so Topher doesn't kill us. I think the Javon Holland sign was really nice. I think that there's a lot of like teams that I think that he's not ideally the best running back of all time, but I think that the Chargers got a bargain in Najee Harris. I wouldn't have overpaid him in Pittsburgh, but for a John Harbaugh or a Jim Harbaugh system, like I think you're going to see Najee behind that offensive line do really well next year. And I think there's going to be some very underrated skill signings. And a lot of what happened was these guys that were supposed to be big splash names, like T. Higgins franchise tag, Chris Godwin goes back to his team.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the guys that were supposed to move skill position wise stayed home.
Well, we got another big event coming up here real soon. Before we get into that, because you might want a chain for your March Madness team. So rep your team with a custom 3D printed chain from Lotwin. Whether it's a big game day, just showing out, these made to order chains bring some energy. Use code TCCPOD. That's the Clashing Conferences Pod for 10% off, or grab one of our oversized chains on their website to support our network. Links in the description. It's down there somewhere. You can go to the links and check out these oversized chains. The Clash and Conferences chain is very cool. Check that one out. And again, made to order. You can get pretty much anything you want done. So that being said, we got March Madness coming up. We got championship week going on right now as we speak, with some of these smaller conference tournaments and the first day of the ACC. But I think SEC and Big 12 and Big 10 all kick off in the next day or two. So what are you guys looking forward to over the next couple of days? Kyle, let's start with the state, because Cody's not here, and every week Cody gives a state of Kentucky report. We need a state of Kentucky report. What's going on out in Kentucky?
Listen, man, Kentucky's primed and ready to make a run in the SEC tournament. I got them locked in as a 4 seed in the big tournament, no matter what they do in the SEC tournament. But they beat Tennessee twice this year. They hung with Alabama twice this year. I think they can hang with Auburn. So, I have them going pretty far in the SEC tournament. I think they can win it. But they're playing well as a team. I mean, not having a couple of their key players is going to kill them down the stretch. And Cody will tell you this. I didn't realize how much Lamont Butler meant to that team, but man, he's really good. He's really good and makes that offense go. So if Bryant can get hot like he's been over the last couple of weeks, they can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, man. It all depends on what bracket they get into. I've seen mock brackets right now with Joe Lunardi and everything else that has them in the same bracket as Auburn and the same bracket as Tennessee and some bracket. I can't stand that. I don't
You're
want to
not
see
going to be
them.
able to avoid getting other SEC. There's so
Oh, I
many
know. I know.
SEC teams in the tournament. You're not
It's
going to be able
brutal.
to avoid crossing paths with some of them as you get through it.
Yeah, and then I've seen them with Duke. I mean, they beat Duke in the beginning of the year, but Duke is a different animal right now. I hate to say that, but they're playing
They
very
are.
well.
I,
Very
I
very
just
good
want them to
basketball.
play Duke, Kyle, because there's a clip of Cody calling Cooper Flagg the worst freshman in college basketball from like 6 months ago.
That game that they played against them, he played horribly, and he turned the ball over in the end, and that's why Kentucky
Yeah.
won. And I said the same thing. I thought he was all hype, and then now I'm hoping that the Sixers tank for him. Uh, it is what it is. Opinions can change. We still hate Duke and we hate Louisville, but it is what it is. They're playing much better now. But it should be an exciting tournament for sure. But I got my Cats going Sweet 16 or longer in the tournament for sure.
Mike, I
Okay.
made sure that I made sure that I called Cody earlier, and he was like, "Well, I tell you, I went to Loserville a couple weekends ago, and they said, uh, we don't like you Kentucky boys around here." And then I said, "Well, you're Loserville, and we're Kentucky, and we're gonna win it all." And then we hung up the phone,
That sounds pretty accurate.
That's spot on. Spot on. That's awesome.
and he goes, "Go Cats, L's down."
L's down, buddy.
What was the hunger line? We we hate Loserville and we stamp out hunger or something. I
Yes,
don't
yeah, yeah.
remember.
With his big Campbell soup thing.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite podcast moments.
Oh,
Yeah, right now I'm watching the NEC, the Northeastern Championship, with a barn burner. It's 43-41 with 27 seconds left.
I got the Horizon League championship up. It's that kind of day where you get all these small conference tourneys, but they're all fighting for that one
One
spot
spot,
that's
is
man.
UNC
available for
Wilmington
March
still winning that
Madness.
game, Mike?
No, I'm watching Robert Morris,
Oh,
Youngstown
Robert
State. I got
Morris.
up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. and they're
Are
up
they were
11.
winning earlier, right? Youngstown,
Yeah.
right?
Well, Robert Morris is up 11 now.
The Horizon is the home of my favorite obscure college basketball team, the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons. Play in the Horizon League.
Well done. Well done. The Mastodon.
Or here they're now IU Indy, but they used to be IUPUI, which was Indiana University of Purdue University of Indiana. They didn't have a Division One college basketball program till last year, so the goal was just to like make capital gains against them the whole year, and they'd lose by like 80 to teams or 30 to teams. Like it's terrible. But I actually kind of enjoy the mid major tournaments because they're always like you obviously get to see teams maybe you didn't see all year. Like there's going to be people like that sneak in that probably don't deserve to be there, which is cool. But like McNeese is playing right now in their Southland semi. They're a team that could be. They were in last year. They got a lot of
Mm-hmm.
buzz. They brought back 8 of 10, something like that, which is pretty crazy to do in today's transfer portal and everything like that. So I love seeing like if these teams, these mid majors can hang on when they're supposed to hang on. Because if you can't hang on in your conference tournament and get it done big, then when you go to play, Gonzaga or you go to play even a mid level, you play Mizzou or Mississippi State, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, somebody was talking about that the other day where, do you, in some of these tournaments where like Delaware in their tournament where they were, a 12-win team and they were the 12th seed in the tournament, they knocked off the number one seed. And they were like, well, the number one seed has like 2 losses. They won the regular season conference title and all that. Do you reward that or do you reward the person that got hot? And I'm like, well, March Madness is about the team that gets hot.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep with that platform. You know what I mean? That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting. I mean, it just you're right. You're going to see a lot of teams that weren't going to be in there a week ago, and now all of a sudden they're a number 11 seed in the tournament. You know what I mean? And they could shock the world. I mean, that's what I love about it. I mean, tonight you got Gonzaga and St. Mary's going against each other, which is always a great matchup. I mean, I think they played against each other in that tournament the last like what decade basically.
Yeah.
Been
Yeah,
back and
they've been
forth,
the
back
only
and
two
forth.
good teams.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So that
And
should be
Gonzaga's
a
a
fun
true
game.
bubble team for like the first time ever, like a
Yeah.
true bubble team.
Yep, when Kentucky beat them in the beginning of the year, they were ranked 7th, and then they dropped out of the top 25.
Mike, what an absolute choke job from North Carolina on Saturday night. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Could have had it.
not even could have had it. They were up 6 and they lost by 13 with 8 to go. Not supporting my capital gains, I tell you that.
It's true. It's true.
Surprised at that one. What you get? I can't remember what that number was, but
10.5.
all
10 and a
right,
half.
all right. That's a big one in a rivalry game like that. I don't
Exactly. And they
care. I
were
don't
up
care what two
7 with
teams are
8 to
playing. A
go.
rivalry that big, that's a lot of points.
They were up
So,
7 with 8 to go.
did you watch the beginning of that game where they had the senior, the ceremonies with the jerseys? Now, Davis is a 5th-year senior. Is that why he had a white jersey and the other 2 guys had the blue jerseys? Do you know that?
I
I
have
didn't
no
see
idea.
it.
Yeah,
I did
so
see it, but I didn't really notice that it was a different jersey.
yeah, his was white. The other 2 guys were blue, and I just wondered if that was because he's a 5th-year senior, or maybe it's because he was a captain. I don't know. So I was
Maybe
wondering
that,
if
or maybe you get to like, maybe he gets the
maybe you get
choice
to
because
pick.
he was the
Yeah,
oldest or something like that, and he could choose blue and the others get white or something like that.
yeah. I
But
didn't know if the North Carolina fan knew anything about that. I know he's probably more of a UConn fan than North
I
Carolina,
am
but
more of a UConn. You know that.
I didn't know. I didn't know if you knew.
it's going to be
It,
crazy about this tournament, especially like as we get closer. Next week obviously we're going to have a pretty heavy March Madness episode, I'd presume, with the bracket out and everything like that. But what's pretty crazy about this bracket is you're going to have traditional blue bloods that had terrible years as like 6, 7, 8, 9 seeds. Like, I think that Kansas is garbage, but Kansas was the second ranked team to start the year.
and
Like,
they still have enough talent that they could win the whole thing.
and they're gonna get a 6 or a 7 seed and get
Yep.
matched up with UNC Wilmington in the first round to get a get right game instead of, you know, something
Mm-hmm.
else, or even like UConn. Like UConn's probably gonna be like a 6 or a 7. Like they're back to back national champs. I don't care that they've lost 12 games this year. Like
Yeah, did you
which
see
is a
what Hurley said on 60 Minutes? That 50% of his roster is leaving. They're in the
really
transfer portal. They already said that they're going to leave at the end of the year. It's
Well,
crazy.
yeah, because Hurley's got a heck of a class coming in already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
And he
just a
probably told them
freshman
that.
class, like
Yep.
irregardless of the portal. So
Yeah.
they
It's
some of
top
these
four,
other
isn't it?
kids are
Something like
gonna
that.
want out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they ain't going to
wonder
play.
I wonder if not that I blame this directly, but I wonder if some of the blame on UConn kind of starting the way they started and playing the way they started is on the fact that there was kind of this off-season circus with Hurley, and it's not Hurley's fault, but like, would he take the Laker job? Was he going to stay? All that stuff. Like, normally he's just somebody that's out of the noise. I wonder with him being in the noise if he just really couldn't get in the building the way he wanted to be, and that has caused some issues for them this year.
They were in trouble to begin with because of losing so many guys to the NBA. Um, you know, what did we lose? Three guys went in the first round.
Yeah, Klingon and the two guards, right?
Yeah. Um, So I mean, and we didn't have good freshmen coming in. It probably hurt us in the portal with the whole Lakers thing. Kids aren't going to want to go there. I mean, although we did get the one guy that we targeted in the portal, he just sucked this year. Aiden Mahaney out of where'd he come from? I think he came from who's playing Gonzaga tonight?
St.
St.
Mary's.
Mary's.
Yeah.
St. Mary. Yeah, he came from St. Mary's. He's a shooter, and he's been awful. And I can't stand the one freshman kid we did get. He's been playing really good lately though. But oh God, I can't remember his name. Paul's going to yell at me because Paul and I talk about this kid all the time. But we do have one very good freshman on UConn. He had a rough start to the year and then he got hurt after that. But he's been on fire lately, like 20, 30 points a game. So I just don't like him.
Yeah,
But I'm
I do have
excited for
some
next
bad
year.
news though for you, Mike, that this pod is canceled because Vermont has conduct negative towards Patty Bailey's capital gains. So officially at the about 40-minute mark, pod's done. Sorry, thank you.
March Madness is
March
canceled.
Madness is canceled. Yup, we are
But
on the same page there, Kyle. Whole March Madness is canceled.
um, but I mean, obviously March is so fun, just with Cinderellas and everything like that. My team, I talked
Cinderellas
a
are
little bit.
fun until they want to bust your bracket and bust one of your Final Four
True.
teams. Then you're like, F that Cinderella.
I love, I love Texas Tech this year. I just, if there's a non-SEC team that's not Duke that I think can get after some of these SEC teams the way they play, both ways. It's man. If you haven't watched Texas Tech this year, please check them out in the Big 12 tournament. They are stupid fun to watch. They play a brand of basketball that's for everybody. They play defense, they play offense. They're basically if St. John's had 10 to 12 more points on offense every week, that's Texas Tech, and I think they can cause a lot of issues for people.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like St. John's. I think St. John's could make a run, but they just don't have the offensive firepower. You know what I mean? So like they need to rely on that defense a lot. And it reminds me of the old Patino Kentucky teams where they're going to full court press you, they're going to hound you on defense and
Hmm.
try to beat you like that in that like 65-58 type of game. You know what I mean? They're not putting 90 up, but and that's going to hurt them in this tournament because a lot of these teams are high scoring teams. You know?
But yeah, the thing is they can play shutdown D, but if they have to get in a shootout where not necessarily that they're not playing defense, but they're playing good defense and these really prolific offensive teams like Kentucky, like Alabama, like Auburn, basically the whole SEC, even somebody like Michigan State, who I don't think enough people are talking about, like they just not that they're not good. I think they could definitely make a Final Four run. I just need to see what bracket they end up in first before I make that judgment on how far they can go.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, we can get into it next week, but I think a lot of this year, I mean, this is going to be the year where you get a 5 seed or a 6 seed that wins the whole thing. I could see these top teams, even Auburn or Duke or any of these guys just getting upset. Whether it's a Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, I can see them running into one of those buzzsaws and
Yeah,
just losing. Like the year,
every team this year is capable of losing.
yep, just like the year that Butler went all the way to the championship game and almost won. Right? I mean, that's the type of tournament that this is going to be, where a team just it could come out of nowhere and just dominate.
As the great John Madden once said, you have to score more than the other team to win because that's how the game works.
It's true. It's true.
Kyle and I play in a bracket every year where a lot of the points come from upsets.
Yep, you get
So
rewarded based on the seeding.
picking exactly, and it's gonna be one of those years where that kind of a bracket is gonna be crazy, I think.
It
Yep.
seems like that kind of bracket could end up in the Paddy Bailey capital gains portfolio. So you just let me know on that end, okay?
We'll
There's at
get you
least
the
going to
link.
be there's going to always be two 11 over 5 seeds. It happens every year. Or 11 over
Yeah,
6 seeds. It
12-5.
happens every year. Yep, twelve
Yeah,
five and 11 over 6. Happens
yep.
every year. But we'll let you know of those upsets to help your capital gains fund. Don't worry.
McNeese State, you heard it here first. They're getting it done this year.
Love it.
I
Love
don't
it.
know who they're playing, but they're getting it done this year.
I'll take them as the 13 seed. I need
At
those points.
PS, since Cody's not on, Louisville is going to upset Duke in the ACC tournament.
I
Oh,
That would be the only basketball game I would ever hope that would end in a tie.
I'm not saying that Duke's. I could see Duke winning it, and obviously they're very heavy favorites. But I think with how good Duke is, we've lost sight of how good Clemson and Louisville are. Especially like obviously it's a weaker conference, but they don't mess around when they play other teams in that conference. They don't mess around. Like they take. That's what I want to see. If you're in a team that's a powerhouse, when you play the not powerhouses, like take care of business. That's Michigan State does that. Maryland does that. When they're playing the low lifes of the Big Ten, they get it done, and that's what I see out of Louisville. I think that Chucky Hepburn can score with the best of them, coming from
Best
Wisco
friend. You
last
love
year.
that guy. You love
Dude,
that
I
guy.
do. I'm telling you, I do. But
it's
I don't
like
know. That's like
Chris's
my
Josh Allen
I
man
love
crush.
them. I do. I don't love them as a team, but I love them as like I really do think they're a solid college basketball team, which is what I want to
Listen,
see.
Clemson knocked off Kentucky this year, but Kentucky did get Duke and Louisville. So, I will say those three teams are tough. They're tough teams. So I agree with you. I do love the way that whole conference plays against each other, whether you're the best team or the worst team. It's always a rivalry. It's always a battle. I mean, usually that's how the SEC is this year, but you got like 13 teams in the top 25, so it's hard to really tell who's bad and who's good. You
You have
know.
Yeah,
13 teams in the top 25, and then South Carolina took Tennessee to the wire the other day.
Yeah.
And you have Vandy and Georgia, who are the bad teams, who are bubble teams right now. They're 20 and 10, 20 and 12, 22 and 10 bubble teams at the bottom of the SEC. Like,
that conference tournament this week will be as hard to get through as the normal NCAA bracket. You're going
electric.
to play as many good teams in that one conference tourney just to win it as you will to get through the NCAA. Because if you're a top seed, I mean, that first round or two is cake for most top seeds most of
The
the
only
time.
two SEC teams that I can think of that didn't sniff a ranking this year were LSU and South Carolina. Even
Mhm.
Arkansas was ranked at one point to start the year with
Yep,
Cal, and
Arkansas's talented. They
Ranked
got
at
some
one
good
point.
kids.
Georgia was ranked, or at least close to being ranked, and Vandy at least was 24, 25 a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
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 So that's crazy. Two teams not ranked the entire year in a whole conference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
nuts. It's nuts. That tournament's going to be crazy. And that's why I think the seedings for like those top 10 teams and even throwing Kentucky in there, the seedings for the big tournament, they're already locked in no matter what happens in that tournament because it's so equally balanced
Yeah,
that Kentucky got, they're one of the teams with a bye in that tournament, so they automatically go into the second round. If they lose in that game, they're still going to be locked into a 4 seed in the big
you
tournament.
could still move up. Like a team
Oh
like
yeah.
Kentucky, if they
Yep.
were to go out and win the SEC tournament,
Yep.
they're
They could be a
bumping up
two
a
seed.
line or two.
Yep.
Yeah,
They'll
like
be a 2 or a 3.
they're
Yep.
definitely moving up.
Yep. I just don't think they'll get any worse than a 4.
No,
I
I agree.
agree.
You know.
I think the thing that's crazy, I mean, I don't believe this, but we talk about this in football a lot. Like, and again, this isn't discrediting the Eagles, but the Eagles getting through the NFC, especially no Lions, was on not the easier side, but was probably the easier path than the AFC. We talk about this a lot in baseball. We talk about it a lot in football. I wonder if the SEC has just beat the crap out of each other so much this year that some of those teams let down in the big tournament. Like, I don't necessarily see it that way, but I think that's definitely an interesting angle of like there's going to be a team, whether it's Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, or Kentucky, one of those four is not making it to the Sweet 16 because somebody's going to get got by one of these teams that just hasn't gotten beaten up all year, hasn't had to play as hard for, you know, Kentucky's had to play for their balls off for 2 months to stay alive.
Listen, roll the tape. Roll the
You know?
tape. I said this about a month and a half to 2 months ago when my first time on here. I said,
favorite type of cheese, brother? What's your favorite type of cheese?
because what you see right now is the Final Four is going to be 3 SEC teams. I don't see that happening. I'll be lucky and I'll be shocked if more than one gets in there, to your point. I can see them getting knocked off by one of these teams like a St. John's or somebody from one of these other conferences that just didn't play that tough of a schedule, you know?
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be fun.
You guys got anything else you want to hit on before we get out of here? We miss anything?
Nope. We want everyone to join unless you go to the University of Vermont. Please stay out of this podcast.
Or Louisville. We
Louisville.
can't we just can't have. I think Cody would like disintegrate if we let a Louisville member become a Clash and Conferences Network member.
That needs to be one of the questions on the questionnaire from now on. Are you a Louisville fan? Yes or no?
No, but we'll let a Louisville fan in only if his name is Cody, Kodi. So then we'll have Cody, and it'll be like two different people. It'll be like a doppelganger. It'd be like, well, Louisville sucks. Be like, well, Kentucky sucks. Louisville, Kentucky. Like, back and forth with each other. I'm Cody. No, I'm Cody. No, I'm Cody. Like,
Steve, you know that Steve did a little like video game segment thing before. I need like a Mortal Kombat type of deal.
Yes.
Where it's Cody on Cody, Louisville versus Kentucky.
Give me Louisville, Kentucky to get to the Sweet 16. Give me it. Give me 5 versus 4, Louisville, Kentucky.
We'll live stream it. Cody and I will go live on it. 100%.
Mike, as always, thanks for hosting, buddy. Good job.
Appreciate you guys coming on. We're going to get out of here. Next week, we will have a bracket out to talk about. There is not many more exciting things to me on a year-to-year basis than the release of the bracket. Happens next Sunday, Selection Sunday, and then 4 days later, we get real March Madness games, first round. I'm looking forward to it. Let's go. We will be back. We'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. Just a few quick reminders for everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. And check out our fellow podcaster, Jim Montgomery, with This Day in Philly Sports History. Thank you.